Hey, you guys. Today is August 9th, 2017, and here at Shit Hits the Fan, Prepping and Survival, we don't usually focus our efforts or attention on current events, but I think it is about time that, with all the media hype that's going on and the words being thrown back and forth this last week, I think it's necessary to address some concerns of some of the newer folks that we see coming in and that will be coming in quite frequently within the next week or two. I don't want to get into what if or could potentially happen, but what I want to focus on is that many of you are coming to us right now because you're looking for a way to help yourself and to help your family. You want some control over what could potentially happen. And, that's part of what preparedness is. That's what we like to focus on here. And don't worry, you aren't alone. I've been there and I understand the need to do something when you're surrounded by chaos. So I'm going to give you a very simple outline to follow. We're going to go with the K.I.S.S method. The keep it simple, stupid. All right? And I'm not saying that in any sort of derogatory manner, but because out of understanding and my previous experiences and the love for each of you who has decided that you need to have some control over what's happening in the chaotic world. And by following the K.I.S.S method, the great advantage is that you aren't just preparing for one event. You may be worried about today, but you're preparing for others that you haven't even thought of before, like, let's say, a layoff at work, a medical emergency, a natural disaster in your area, power outages, and even then you have a leg up if there are major disasters that happen. So it just helps give you a little bit of control over what could potentially happen around you, from small scale to global. And nobody is ever prepared perfectly for anything and everything, but this is about giving yourself an advantage and helping take care of yourself and your family. So how do we keep it simple? I'm going to give you a few things. One, okay, focus on what you can do right now with what you have on hand. Do you have food on your shelves? Can you hobble together 2 to 3 meals a day with what you have on your shelves for 10 to 14 days? That's a good starting point. Do you have water available? If your pipes aren't working, do you have empty containers you can fill? The basic amount that they suggest for people is about half a gallon a day for your basic cooking and drinking needs. Now, that doesn't include washing, okay? So if you need a half a gallon per person in your family, that's great. How much can you have on hand? And then also, you need to take in consideration human waste factor. If your toilet isn't working, what are you going to do? Trash bags, a bucket, maybe some kitty litter to put in the bottom to help soak stuff up. And then also, don't forget your toilet paper. Toilet paper is very important because whatever you put in still has to be coming out, and you don't want to be, pooping on your sidewalk. That doesn't work very well. Also, do you have a way to heat or cook food? Lots of people have grills, or you have charcoal, or you have a fire pit, or, if you have a camp stove, that's great. And I'll get to something on the next section about this, but do you have the fuel that you need for it? Do you have a penny stove? Something that can heat. That's very important. Number 2, focus on the simple things that you can get in the next few days, because this is going to help your mind be calm, okay? If you don't have enough food, do you have 10 to 20 extra bucks you can take with you to the store and pick up pasta, beans, canned vegetables? Go to Aldi's, they're 50 cents a can, something like that. What you want is shelf-stable food that is nutritious and that's easy to prepare or eat out of a can. You don't want to go crazy and buy a freezer full of food, because you're going to end up cooking all that food within a day and sharing with all your neighbors, because you can't have leftovers, because if your fridge doesn't work, then you're kind of screwed. Also, under number 2, fill up your gas tank, pick up propane for your grill, get some charcoal, get your fuel. Because if you do ever have to need to evacuate, they're going to run out of gas at the gas station. You don't want to be stuck on the highway without moving because you're out of gas, Fill up your gas tank. If you have some cash on hand, because in emergencies and immediately after emergencies, cash is king. If you need something, you need to have cash. That's the way it goes. Number 3 to focus on: shelter security, and comfort. Most of you probably have a place that you live, or that you can hunker down. Make sure your locks are working. It's never a bad idea to have some extra lumber on hand, hammer, nails, just in case you need to beef up your security a little bit. Do you have something for personal security to protect yourself and your family? Knives, bats, guns, slingshots, bows, mace, taser. While you have a leg up on being prepared, others around you may not. And if they know you have things, you stand the risk of being a target. So you need to be able to protect your family in some way. And lastly, candles, flashlights, hand fans for those of you in hot regions, weather radios, extra batteries. You never know when you're going to have to see in the dark, and if cell phones are down or anything crazy like that, you want to be able to get information. So an AM, FM radio that's battery operated is actually a really good idea. And that may seem like a lot, those 3 points that I just made, but it isn't. It's just looking around you and seeing what you already have on hand. You don't have to do anything crazy. And as time goes on and, nothing happens, what's great about this is what you start with now will become a nice little extra cushion for times in the future. Like I said, if the money is low for a month, guess what? You got some extra cans. So you don't have to worry as much about the grocery bill. That's what preparedness is about. It's not about a one-time event. It's about being sustainable for a longer period of time. That's the good thing. And with that, I want to go ahead and address the elephant in the room. And I'm going to try to stick to my talking points I have written down here so I don't get off too much. Is a nuclear strike possible on U.S. soil? Most indicators suggest yes, it's possible. But then again, let's also remember how many major countries in this world have nuclear weapons already. Russia, China, Pakistan, India, Saudi Arabia, just so many countries have nuclear weapons, and everybody basically coincides on, we're not going to use them because it causes mass devastation, and if one of us uses them, somebody else is going to use them, and it's all a big a chicken match for the most part. So the big thing that we have to remember is that everybody has the capability of hitting somebody else, and we all try to play by the rules. Our government is trying to work with negotiations and sanctions. In fact, the UN just this week passed more sanctions. That's why North Korea came out with their little Guam threat. But looking at the broad view, North Korea attacking us would mean that we would have to attack them and basically annihilate their country, which is also bad for our trade partners, South Korea. And their allies would end up trying to defend them, and it just would be one big shit show. So I personally have no control over how any of these world events are happening, and how they're going to play out. But what I do have control over is what happens in my four walls. So anything I can do to help prepare my family for any event, from the simplicity of not having enough money at the end of the month to a major global disaster, is what I focus on, because my family is my legacy, and I want to grow up and be a grandma and have my kids and my grandkids help in my garden. Everything I do preparedness wise is to ensure that the quality of my life for my children will continue in some way. So I want to thank all of you who are waking up to the idea of being prepared and reaching out for help, because every time we have these major things happen, we have a huge influx of people into all of our groups and sister groups. So I want to thank you guys for taking the first step towards being better prepared. And my challenge to you today is turn off the TV. Turn off the TV. Take a look around what you have in your house that you can already utilize. Spend some time with your kids or your partner, or just with yourself. And once you start focusing on these simple things, I promise you, you are going to feel like you will have more control. Trim down your focus. What happens out there someday may affect in here. But in here is where it all starts and where it all matters. So don't let all of this influence everything, little thing you do in here. Okay? All right. Well, I appreciate it, guys. So focus on what you can do today and stop focusing on what can happen tomorrow. You guys have a fantastic day. I look forward to seeing you around.